Today we're going to be talking about all things Peachtober. I did not think that I would be able to finish Peachtober completely all the way through every prompt, but I did it, and here we are in our Peachtober review video. So a couple of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video are how I found inspiration for each of the prompts, what my thought process was during this challenge, any challenges I faced, and what I learned from completing the 30 days of Peachtober. So let's get into it. This is the first spread that I did, and the first prompt was acorn. So I did have a little planning page where I was kind of brainstorming ideas, how I wanted to approach the challenge. I bookmarked this page with a post-it so I could refer back to all of the prompts that I had written down with some ideas that I wanted to do for those. And then I was originally thinking of doing a ghost for each of the prompts, and so I drew different ghosts doing different things. Ultimately, I ended up scrapping that idea. But you never know what's gonna work until you start doing it. The first prompt was acorn, and I painted with watercolor some acorns and the acorn leaves. And I really wanted to try to push myself with these 30 days of art making and try to do art in a way that I don't normally make art. So this was a combination of watercolors and coal erase Prismacolor pencils. So you can see the pencil on the leaves adding some of that texture, and it's on the gourds I did on the other side too, and it's what I used to draw the shapes, the stars, circles, and glowy different stars. Ultimately, this piece is what inspired several other pieces later in this challenge because I loved the way that this turned out so much. So moving on to the second prompt, a completely different style. It was kite, and so I drew the Japanese fish kites that are traditionally flown in Japan on Children's Day. They are koinobori, and so I wrote the kanji for it and the I forget what that's called, but the English letters pronunciation. And I like how this turned out, but it's very different from this. And so then I was like a little bit worried that maybe I had strayed too far. So our third prompt, it was slug. And we're back to the watercolors and colored pencils. And I really liked how this turned out. And so I was like, well, that's gonna be the style that I do most of these pictures in, because I just really liked experimenting with the way that colored pencil looked on top of the watercolor. I drew this guy first and painted him in on this blackberry, and then I realized that the prompt was slug and not snail, and even though they're two sides of the same coin, I did include two slugs. And so the composition I like the colors. I really like the layering of the colored pencil on the slug here for this guy. I just think it turned out really cool. This page was the prompt gingham, and my first thought was to do fish on a gingham tablecloth. And so I painted that with watercolor pencil or watercolors, and then I did the colored pencil on top of it. But after I finished this, I was like, oh, that would be so fun to do a picnic basket with the gingham and have a fish coming out of the picnic basket. When I drew that in pencil, it wasn't coming together the way I envisioned it. So I ended up doing flowers instead. So it's almost like this is the picnic blanket with the fish, and this is the picnic basket. And as a spread, I really enjoy the way that it turned out. So I had a lot of fun making this page. Then we have Poppy, and I draw a lot of poppies. I love poppies. They're one of my favorite flowers, and I drew them a bit big for one page, and so the leaf kind of goes into the other side of the spread. So I didn't want to put another prompt over here, and the life of a showgirl just dropped. So I picked some lyrics from the life of a showgirl and put those in a juxtaposition to my poppies, and I really like how this page turned out too. I actually like a lot of the artwork that I made for this challenge, and I had a blast making it. But you can see the influence of the acorn painting I did at first on these leaves here, where they have this yummy texture from the colored pencil, and I tried to mimic that on the petals of the poppies. I think it was a little bit less successful there, but I still like it. Then we have ring, and I debated doing like a fairy ring or a mushroom ring, but ultimately I just went with like kind of an Art Deco gold ring with a large stone. This stone isn't one that like actually exists. I did draw it based off a diamond, but when I painted it in, I tried to incorporate autumn colors. So there's the oranges and the yellows and the golds and the browns. And I really like how it came out. And one of the watercolors I used was opalescent, and so it kind of shimmers. And I did that on a few of the paintings in this challenge, and so it just adds a little extra something, you know, it's cool. Next to ring is strawberry, and I went with strawberry jam, and then I tried to do like some little line art doodles around the strawberry jam, which I had varying degrees of success with. The little strawberry blooms I think came out really cool. This like cross section of a strawberry, I like. This strawberry I think was the least successful, but the idea of a fully rendered jam jar and then this more like line art style around it, I really enjoyed playing with that idea, and I want to do this more. I don't think I did this again for Peachtober. I think this is the only one with this style, but I really like it. Okay, moving on. This was leaf, and I painted the leaves with watercolor, and then I did the colored pencil on top of them like I'd been doing, and they turned out cool, but I was like, this is so just plain, like it's boring. There's nothing visually interesting other than the leaves. Oh, and something cool about the leaves is that they're all based on pictures that I took of leaves in our area. They're fun, but it felt unfinished. So I added these little ants crawling on the leaves, and I like how that came out. It added a little bit of whimsy to kind of a boring composition. It's still not my favorite composition, but I think the ants improved it. Then this spread is 2 prompts in 1. Yes, so this side was rope, so he's on a rope swing, and this side was critter. But then I put the critters kind of everywhere. This section right here, I think, is the most successful. This little raccoon guy is my favorite guy on this page. These raccoons I don't like at all. I don't think that I rendered them successfully. And, you know, they're not my favorite. So this side I think was way more successful than this side of the spread. But I had a lot of fun drawing all of the raccoons and painting them and coloring them in. You know, you are constantly learning as you experiment and do things, and you're not gonna love everything that you do, and that's totally fine. This spread is seagull and bark. So the seagull spread, this guy cracks me up. I think this drawing is so funny. He's a seagull, he's got french fry in his mouth, and he's looking at you like, I'm gonna come get the rest of your french fries. And I really enjoy this illustration. The bark I think is less successful, and at first I just did this as the bark. I drew it from a picture I'd taken of a tree at the park that's near my house that has really interesting textures. But the colors didn't come out the way I wanted to. I did it in marker because the seagull was in marker, and so I wanted to maintain consistency on the spread. And then I thought, oh, I should have done a giant ring with the bark around the outside, like you cut like a slice, like what you would make an ornament out of or something. And I liked this concept better, and so I wish I would have done that differently. But again, this is how we learn, is by making. And so the more art you make, the more connections you're going to figure out, the more stuff you're like, oh, that was a good idea, I should have executed it like this, and then you know for next time. It was marble, and I could not stop myself from drawing a marble statue, and I forgot how much I love anatomy drawing. And so I had a blast with this page. It's one of my favorite pieces of art that I made from the whole challenge. I think it turned out great. This side was brush, and I wanted, after like doing such a realistic drawing over here, I just kind of wanted to play with colors on this side. And so I thought like, oh, wouldn't that be fun if it was like a black paint, but it was turning into bats, and so it was more like Halloween themed. And so that's how we ended up with this. And I think it's cute and very simple, and sometimes that's all you need. This side here was aquarium, and I debated on doing another spread similar to gingham, where it was like fish, 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 fish from the aquarium. But since I'd already done that, I wanted to try something else. I don't remember what kind of fish this is, but it was swimming in an aquarium. And so I was playing with the idea of like, not everything has to be fully rendered. And so you can render some things more specifically and leave other things more simple. So I drew the fish and painted it, and I drew the leaves, and I painted the leaves but tried to leave them more plain and simple. And then instead of rendering the water, I just alluded to the water behind the fish with the colored pencil, and then I added these little stars. I don't know if you've noticed them popping up in most of the illustrations, but they're just kind of a fun little thing to throw in there and tie all of my pictures together with that little element. So I like the fish. I like the colors of it. I think it's a very unique looking fish, and so, you know, it's cool. And then over here we have Hatch, which obviously I had to illustrate a bird for Hatch, and she's guarding her little eggs down here in her nest. I really like how this one came out too, and the texture that I got on the bird's belly with the watercolor and with the colored pencil. I just think that the colored pencil adds something yummy to the artwork that I just have never played with before, and it's like shocking to me a little bit that I have never done this style of art before, really, with any varying degree of success. And here I am doing it consistently for Peachtober and really, really enjoying how it's turning out. Then we have Whistle and Toad. And if I'm being completely honest with you, Whistle stumped me. I did not know what to do for Whistle. I did not want to illustrate a person whistling, and so then I was thinking of a train, and I was like, I don't want to illustrate a train. Like, it's too detailed. Like, I'm just not into it. I'm not feeling it. And so I pulled up Pinterest and I searched whistle just to see like what would pop up. And like what you think of would pop up: trains, the train whistles, like the wooden carved ones that you can blow into and sound like a train, whistles for like PE teachers or recess, sports training, and then tea kettles started showing up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is brilliant. A kettle whistling to signal that the water is hot enough is genius. And so I found some photographs of some vintage teapots, and I was really drawn to this like bright yellow kettle with the daisies. So I painted that, and then I put this blue background behind it because blue and yellow together are like chef's kiss color combo, one of my faves. And then I thought like, oh, that would be really cool. It's like a kind of like a window behind the kettle, and then you can see the steam coming up and breaking that like shape and going off of the page. And so it's like it goes from white to this like light blue, and I love everything about this. It's so good. But I drew it too high, and I had all of this space down here, and I was like, what do I put in the bottom part of this illustration so that it doesn't look so off balance? And I found these sheets of music for penny whistles. And so this is a penny whistle song of the Narnia lullaby that, oh my gosh, what's his name? Mr. Tumnus, that Mr. Tumnus plays. This is so if you played this on your penny whistle, it would be that lullaby. Toads, I just love toads. I think that they are so funny and cute, and they're like ugly cute. And so I put the little toad with some toadstool mushrooms behind him. And this, again, is really just a simple illustration with the watercolor and the colored pencil, but I love how it turned out. I love the textures that the watercolor helps with the pencil behind it, or I said that backwards. I love the texture that the colored pencils give with the watercolor behind it. I just think it looks really cool and a lot more visually interesting than just plain flat colors. And so this is a spread that's one of my favorites in the challenge. This is melon. And melon, again, I tried to imitate the acorn spread, the original one. I wanted to try and repeat how I had done that, but obviously different. And so playing around with like the shape of the leaves and the colors of greens I was using, and obviously it was a melon instead of an acorn. And so I painted everything with watercolor first, and then I did the colored pencil on top of it. And the cantaloupe, I'm not sure if this is a cantaloupe because the melon in the picture had these lines down the side of it, but it just looks cool. And it made me miss my garden. So hopefully I can have another garden in the future. But over here, I didn't fully render the leaves all the way out, and I left space over here, and I wasn't quite sure what to fill this area in with. And I found this really fun typeface that I wanted to imitate. And so I just wrote melon. I know, real crazy and inventive, but here we are. And then painted it. It kind of gives me like 70s vibes, and I really like that. Okay, this is maybe my least favorite painting, my least favorite idea, but I still like it, but it's just not what I was originally envisioning. So this is a combination of prompts. This is truck and snowflake, and I went very literal with this, and I did a blue truck with pumpkins in the bed of it, and I put a snowflake on the tailgate, and like it feels a little bit on the nose. Like I could have pushed it a little bit more. I could have done something a little bit better, but sometimes, especially when you're doing art where you're doing a challenge where you're making art every day, it's like you kind of run into like a slump, and you have to kind of like push over that plateau and work through it. And this was kind of like where I hit that, like, oh, maybe I'm not gonna finish this challenge. Maybe this is gonna be it for me. I don't like what I've made. I didn't even finish rendering a sky. Like, I just left it and posted it as is because I was over it. And there are some things that I do like about it. I like the tires and the texture that the colored pencil gives on the tires. I like the color of the truck. I like the design of the snowflake. So there are some positives here, but on a whole, like, this is not something that I am proud to show off to people, but it's part of the process of making art, and you're not always gonna make things that you like. I've said it before, and I'm sure I will say it again, and that is okay. Because next to it is web, and this is one of my absolute favorite pieces that I made for this challenge. So I drew this originally with pencil, and then when I was thinking of inking it, I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to go about doing it. I have this brush pen, and I thought originally that I would just like trace over the pencil lines with the brush pen. And what I ended up doing instead is using the brush pen around the pencil lines to create this negative space spider web. And it turned out so cool, but then I was like, well, I don't want to fill in the whole page just black. Like, that would be a lot of ink and a lot of time, and I don't know that it would be like worth it to do that. And so I just kind of made these little like slimy lumps coming off of it, and I do really like how that turned out. I think it's cool. And so I had that, and then I was thinking, I need a spider. I need a spider in the spider web. So I drew a little black widow over here to kind of fill in this space, but also add kind of a narrative to my picture. So instead of just a static spider web, you have a spider that has made the web that's over here, and it adds a little bit more visual interest and a little bit more storytelling to the picture. This one here is paper, and I, just like Whistle, I was really stumped on what to do with paper. So I went to Pinterest, my old standby, and I just typed in paper and looked at what popped up. And there was different like origami ideas. So I came across this very plain picture of a paper boat, and I have these koi markers that are in all different shades of gray, and I thought like that would be a fun challenge to try and do a lineless paper boat and just use the value of the markers to show the folds of the paper. And so I think it turned out really cool. And then I did these kind of gold stars based on a past painting of mine that I did with gold watercolor. And then I was like, well, what kind of water would be underneath the paper boat? And the lined paper, I just thought like, oh, that would be so cool if it looked like somebody had cut lined paper out in the shape of waves and then put the boat on the paper waves. And so I drew out where I wanted the waves to be, and then I drew the paper and colored with the marker to make it look like it was lined paper. And I think it was so successful, and I made a whole reel about it. And then I posted it and was like, oh, missed opportunity for paper airplanes. And I love drawing paper airplanes. They're so simple, they're so easy, and they're so fun to draw. And so I went back and I added these little purple paper airplanes flying through the night sky. And this is one of my faves. I just love it. And next to it is Spot. So I didn't want to go like super literal with spots. I wasn't sure like exactly what I would do for spots either. So I went with the spotted owl, and I just love it. Like, I love it so much. And then I added these juicy little highlights with a gel pen, and I just think that this is one of the best owls that I have ever painted, and I could not be happier with it. The only thing that I would change is I would have put it on the same spread as stripes, because if you're familiar with Peachtober, it was created by Furry Little Peach, and she has videos about Peachtober, and she walks you through her process, and it's amazing. And if you haven't watched her videos, please go check them out. I'll link them in the description below. But her prompts were spots and then stripes, and she decided to do them kind of like juxtaposed together, so they were like two sides of the same painting. And so I did an owl for spots, I did a bird for stripes, I did a hoopoe, and so I wish I would have put them on the same spread so that they would be together, but you know, it is what it is. I still I really like the hoopoe. I learned about these birds when I was reading a book called The Anthropology of Turquoise by Ellen Malloy, which is a really interesting read, especially if you are an artist. But she talks about hoopoes in her book, and I was like, what is a hoopoe? I've never heard of that. And I looked it up, and when I saw what it looked like, I was like, I have to paint this bird. It's so weird. And this was the perfect opportunity for me to paint a hoopoe, so here we are. It's black and white stripes with a bright orange top, and it's just the weirdest bird I've ever seen. The prompt after stripe is bear. My favorite animal is bears. And holding a fish in their, there's just something about a bear with a fish in its mouth that I love. And so here we are. I painted a bear with a fish in its mouth. I did the watercolor with the colored pencil on top of it. It's one of my favorite pieces that I did the whole time. And yeah, no notes. Okay, for this prompt, this is axe. And I didn't just want to paint an axe. Like, I thought, like, oh, that's so boring. And I'm not a big, like, I don't illustrate people doing things. And so I didn't want to attempt that for this challenge. That feels like it needs to be its own challenge. So I was really like struggling on what am I gonna do with this axe? Like, I'm not just gonna draw an axe. But I do like to draw an octopus. So I thought I would draw Henry, my octopus. This might be Henry's cousin, Harry. I don't know, he's a lumberjack. And so I looked up photographs of octopi and photographs of octopus tentacles like holding things, so that I could figure out how I wanted to render the octopus holding the axe. And I gave him a little knitted beanie because he's a lumberjack, and it's so cute. Like, how can you not like it? So this is another one I used the metallic watercolor paint on, and so his little suction cups, I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but they glitter back and forth, and I even put it on the tip of the blade too, just for some added fun and whimsy. Then we have Button and Sour. The only thing I could think of for Button, like I couldn't get it out of my head. It's not the only idea I had, but it was the one that I knew was calling for me to do, and that was Scrump. And if you don't know who Scrump is, then I'm so sorry, but you definitely need to remedy that situation very quickly and go watch Lilo and Stitch, and then you can come back and finish the video. Then for Sour, that's another one that I struggled with, like, what do I do for Sour? I don't draw a person making like a sour face. Do I draw sour candy? Citrus is an obvious go-to, and a lot of people did citrus things and they did them very well. But I just thought like a whiskey sour is a kind of like unique interpretation for that prompt. I don't believe I saw any other whiskey sour cocktail paintings for this, but I could be wrong. I could go back and look through it and find one. So I did a rendition of the drink in a glass and then filling the rest of the page with the recipe. I have apple cider. I need to go buy some whiskey so that I can make this cocktail because it sounds delicious. All right, we're almost done. This is the second to last prompt, which was whisker. I did this one first. If you watched my last video, you saw me paint this and create it on black paper. And so I tried to create that same idea with using white paper. And I used, again, the koi markers in the varying shades of gray to achieve that look. And I think it came out really cool, but I drew it on this side of the paper, which meant that this was left blank. And we have one more prompt, but I didn't want to put it over here because I wanted this to be the whisker page. And so originally I was thinking of just like sketching out little cats with their whiskers. And in researching cat whiskers, I found this flower that's called cat whiskers, and it's native to Southeast Asia. And it has these little things that come off and look like cat whiskers, and there's white ones and purple ones. And when I originally drew this, I was looking at a photograph of a white cat whisker flower, and I was planning on doing something similar to this and having the white whiskers and mirroring that in a floral idea. I thought that would be really cool. But then I saw that there were purple ones, and I have a purple Sharpie that I outlined the pencil lines with. And so I just took this purple Sharpie S-Note and colored in the rest of the flowers purple. And I do like how it turned out. I don't feel like they go together. And so I might revisit this spread and see if there's a way that I can get them to match a little bit more. But the idea I think is cool. So I mirrored the font here by doing it backwards to try and help pull them together. But I think I need like an element that goes all the way across the page. So maybe I'll come back to that. Maybe I'll just leave it how it is. And then our final prompt is ghost. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I think this is my absolute favorite painting from the entire challenge. I love how this ghost turned out. I did it first with pencil. I drew out the shape, I added the shading with pencil, and then I watercolored on top of the pencil marks. And that looked really cool if I had just left it like that. But then I went back in and I added different darker watercolors where I wanted to push that value. And then I came in with darker colored pencils on top of that and pushed those values even further and added some of the texture with the colored pencils. And it's just such a neat painting. And so I'm going to be putting this in my Redbubble shop. So if you would like to purchase this design, it will be available in Redbubble. You can get it on all kinds of merchandise. So that also will be linked in the description below if you're interested in that at all. And then I just finished this spread with a happy Halloween. And similar to my cat whiskers, I don't feel like this spread matches. Like this does not match the vibes of the ghost at all. And I almost kind of wish it wasn't there, but it is. And that's, you know, I'm not gonna change it now. So that is everything that I made for Peachtober. And my process and what I learned. So leave a comment below if you've ever done a challenge like this. What was your main takeaway from the challenge of creating art for 30 days in a row? What kind of things did you learn? And were you happy with all the art that you made, or did you kind of have ups and downs? So I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me and recapping my Peachtober, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!